Just a quick message to everyone out there before we start today's episode. This Saturday, August 22nd, Jesse Cox, Dodger, and myself are doing a live stream for the 20th anniversary of Chrono Trigger. 24 hours of awesome Square goodness. And the awesome thing is, I'm going to be playing, and I've never played Chrono Trigger before. It's going to be a blind 24-hour playthrough extravaganza. If you want to be there, you can head over to twitch.tv/Shibuzi or twitch.tv/ThatOneVideoGamer. See you guys there.
Yes!
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of The Completionist. We all know that right now, Konami's in some real hot water. No more Kojima, no more Silent Hills, new games via pachinko machines, talks about mobile gaming being the future of Konami. Look, I know everyone's all hyped up about it, and I'm not trying to stick up for them by any means, but instead of yelling loudly about something we probably don't know half the details for, let's look back and have fun at the 90s, with Konami arguably being one of the most popular game devs of the time. You know, for me, Castlevania has been something of an acquired taste, and I never even really liked it until I started doing The Completionist. With Castlevania 1 and Symphony of the Night under my belt, I wanted to keep the dream of playing the good ones alive. And after doing a little research, I found that everyone really loves Super Castlevania IV. Wait, it's a remake of the first one? Ah, damn it! Okay, well, yes, it's technically a remake, but it actually deviates quite a bit from the original source material. Here we go, time to ruin some Japanese names. Headed by Masahiro Unio. I'm just gonna call him Masahiro Uno. I'm sorry. Uno's a great game though. Super Castlevania IV took what was great about the original Castlevania and gave it a nice coat of paint that obviously tricked me when I went to bat for this game. But we've gone too far at this point, so let's whip into action. So you get it? Because it uses a whip in the game, you guys. It's a joke. It's not a very good joke, but it's a joke. Now, if you've seen the review we did with Pat the NES Punk a few years ago, you'll realize that the story of the two games, Castlevania 1 and Super Castlevania 4, are ultimately the same. So I'm going to assume you never played Castlevania 1 or even seen that review. And if you have, well then, you're in for a treat. Probably, I don't know, go ask your parents for a treat. Luckily, the game gets us caught up to speed on the plot, but just in case you didn't want to wait reading a story for 2.5 minutes, I'll try to be a bit more informative than a wall of text. In the year of 1691 in Transylvania, it's time for the momentous return of Dracula. You know, the most famous vampire in the history of the world. Are you serious right now with this image? No! Dracula is way more well known than that dude from Twilight. Well, historically at least. Actually, nowadays, I think everyone knows Edward Moore.
How do you know his name?
Who, Edward Cullen?
Yeah.
No reason. The lore goes on that every 100 years, the good in the world becomes weak, and the evil beings of the world work together to bring back the Dark Lord Dracula, along with a slew of other classic movie monsters. Oh dear God, it's hideous! Quick, change the image before I get movie flop residue on me! On the other side of the spectrum, we have the Belmont family, and in this case, Simon Belmont is currently the living legacy that must uphold the family tradition, hunting down and killing Dracula and all of his bad buddies. As the lore of Castlevania goes on, you end up playing as other Belmonts throughout history, but as this show goes on, we've only played 1 and Symphony of the Night, which we play as Alucard. And with this being a remake, we're still the Simon Belmont from before. But damn, dude, Simon Belmont must have been doing a lot of working out in between the NES and SNES Switch. Because, woo, the presentation makes me feel like we've entered a totally different game. Hashtag Buff Boys. Usually I would say it's the story that first grabs you, and when a game comes along with super compelling gameplay too, that's the icing on the cake. However, in the case of Super Castlevania IV, it's the game's graphics that really stand out. Up to this point, from Castlevania 1 through 3, everything's been pretty straightforward with the NES sprites. While they were incredibly impressive, compared to Super Castlevania 4, Super Castlevania 4 is just, well, more super. The use of color in Super 4 is remarkable. Simon Belmont is no longer an 8-bit blob boy, but a big confident buff boy with armor and a whip that will destroy all the evil in his way. The attention paid to every last detail of the enemies, the architecture, the backgrounds and landscapes, even things like the weather effects are just so fresh and so clean. Ain't nobody dope as me, I'm just so fresh and so clean. Ah, come on, everyone makes the moonwalking joke in this game. It's a staple. A lot of the credit here can be given to the Super Nintendo's Graphic Mode 7, a mode often used to try and emulate 3D graphics on the Super Nintendo. With Super Castlevania IV, it's used quite well, with foregrounds moving in different directions, that room that spins as you hang from it with your whip, and with this level, which... oh god, it's actually hard on the eyes for me. It's cool and all, but it makes me want to sprint through it as fast as I can. I'm not gonna throw up. The level designs, while similar to Castlevania 1, just feel a bit more lively than the previous version. Very rarely do the screens, let alone levels, look the same, creating a brand new experience for really any player, whether you've played the original or not. Also, the overworld view in this game alludes to the fact that the game takes place in one big castle, but based on different locations, it doesn't seem like it. Man, this is one diverse castle. And hey, included in some of the level designs are secret rooms. See, that's different. Different thing. Point for different things. Give me that point. You know, it's also different. This isn't a pachinko machine. Roast it. I will say, however, the music at first, in my opinion, isn't much to write home about. The first level's pretty rad, but the rest of the game goes for a more subtle atmospheric soundtrack. When you get towards the end of the game, though, you'll swing back into that nostalgic rush from the first 3 games. Except not the second one. Okay, actually, you know, the music in Simon's Quest is actually pretty good, but everything else, well, you know, AVGN. The enemy designs have gotten a pretty large upgrade too, to the point where you can now definitely always tell exactly what you're fighting. Overall, the presentation of the game could not be better. It's just so good. But guess what? The gameplay is secretly even better! Gameplay's better! At its core, Super Castlevania retains everything that made Castlevania so wonderful, while also venturing a little bit into the unknown, or in this case, re-venturing into what we already know. Basically, what I mean is that Simon Belmont received a wonderful upgrade with Super Castlevania IV that completely changes the game. You won't believe what it is unless you click this video right here and... Oh wait, no, you're already watching this. Oh, sorry, I got a little BuzzFeed on my script here. Let me go ahead and get rid of that. Alright, we're good. Simon Belmont's trusty whip is one of the most revolutionary advancements ever in the Castlevania series. However, now it can go into 8 different directions. Now, why is this so revolutionary? Well, everything prior to this, Simon could only attack what's in front of him directly. He would need to jump and throw his whip in order to destroy candles or enemies. But now we've got full access in every direction. Now, yes, this is just wonderful, but by doing this, it also makes the power-ups in this game kind of pointless. Before, if an enemy was flying above you or flying at you or whatever, you would throw an axe or a boomerang, right? Now, you can just whip it good. Nope, I've done that joke before. We're not going back to that one. It's too easy. In addition, Simon can now change his velocity and trajectory when he jumps. Now this seems a little stupid, right? But it matters a lot, especially in this game, since it is a lot bigger and more well designed. People will argue that this combined with the whip makes it way too easy, but I beg to differ. I think the games take a different feel. Technically, even in the lore of Castlevania, this game is a direct sequel to Simon's Quest. But then again, I guess technically speaking as well, the first game was too. You know, sorry guys, let me get a glass of water. My head's just spinning from all this sequelitis talk. Alright, moving on. The enemies, while familiar, feel perfectly placed in exactly where they should be. As we travel through our 11 stages, we will encounter a lot of foes, and none of them feel unfair. Or rather, they're unfair if you don't know how to use your whip. Another feature to go with the directional whip throwing is the shield you can create. A lot of people just like to wiggle the whip around all quick, which, let's be real, looks super lame and funny. But if projectiles are flying at you, you can just hold the whip out and it acts as a shield. Against pretty much anything, really. This comes in super handy, especially towards the end of the game. As per usual, we've also got hidden turkey legs in the walls, secondary power-up weapons everywhere, and we can upgrade the whip a few times. Now, it's interesting how many more candles are in this game, encouraging the player to use the almost useless power-ups. I mean, I guess they can make boss battles go by a little bit faster, but that's not really justification enough, especially since the boss fights in this game are already pretty darn easy. You may die the first time, sure, but once you learn the patterns, it's cake. And yes, the Frankenstein monster is back, the romantic couple dancing the night away is back, and wait, hold on a second, a romantic dancing ghost couple is a boss? I just kind of feel like I'm ruining a date here.
I bet it's huge.
You have no idea.
Ah, how big? What is it, this big? This big?
I don't want to brag.
Oh, come on.
And I murdered a ghost couple. Still, in the event this game is somehow too difficult for you, there is a password screen, but really, you won't be needing it providing you can just take your time and patiently whoop some ass. You'll be doing a ton of that. Castlevania 1 requires patience, and so does Super Castlevania 4. Minor spoiler incoming real quick. I just want to say, there really isn't a completion bonus in this game. I know that in the original I brought it up, but with Super Castlevania 4, all you really get for beating the game is hard mode. And beating it again does nothing but simply make the game harder. And the infinite loop of the game repeats and repeats time after time. A hard mode run is an extra challenge, sure, but I was hoping maybe for another character or a cooler whip extension. I don't know. I guess I'm too hopeful. I'm going to give you one guess as to what happens when we reach the end of all the levels. Anyone? Anyone? Not you, Steve! Surprise, surprise, we're back at the very top of the tower to take care of Dracula. But before we do that, we've got a mini boss rush of different bosses back to back. The difficulty spike jumps back up and the fights get real. But remember, you've got some awesome tools. Don't forget about your shield whip and the fact that you can also duck, crawl, and hit at the same time. Simon truly can handle everything on his own. And finally, we take the fight to Dracula. Wait, this first fight really is just the first fight from Dracula in Castlevania 1. Well, except this time around, if you jump over the flames, you're going to get hit with upward flames. The bosses have a few different variants this time around, so it's different enough. The nice thing about the final boss is that you can farm candles, life, and boomerang power-ups before the boss. This will help you out a ton if you prefer to fight him from afar. Dracula this time around doesn't really have a second form, so much as he just starts shooting lightning all over the place. However, that awesome music kicks in and bam, you know you're in for a good time. If you stay on top of dodging and hitting, especially while spamming those boomerangs, you're good to go. And thus, Dracula is defeated, Simon looks up at the castle as it falls apart, and the credits once again start with fake names showing all over the place. Not sure if it did much good for you, Konami, but hey, you win some, you lose some. Or in today's standards, you win some, you take everything away from Hideo Kojima some. Damn, roasted! Super Castlevania 4 is the perfect Castlevania 1 game. Is that weird to hear and say? Maybe. Some would say definitely. And one of those people would be me. I would say it a lot, and I do. I think it totally improves and brightens up everything so great about the first one, staying true to its core principles while still very much incorporating the super of Super Nintendo. Still, in my opinion, this game is much easier than the first, to the point that it's almost like a different game. Is that a bad thing? I don't think so. The game feels bigger and more cohesive than its NES inspiration, and if better controls make it easier to play, so be it. If you don't want to go all the way back into the depths of the original Castlevania, then I think this game is perfect for you. It may be the only Super Castlevania, but like I said, it absolutely positively earns it. And hey, every now and then when you guys play it, do that moonwalk dance for me. Cool? Cool. Super Castlevania 4 is an excellent adventure for anyone looking to get into the Castlevania franchise. I personally think it's better in every way than Castlevania 1, and that will get me a ton of flack. It's a bit of a bummer, however, that there's no real completion bonus, but at the end of the day, the game is plenty challenging and very fun. So, with that in mind, guys, I give this game my completionist rating of Finish It.
Finish it!
I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I apologize once again for being sickly sick, but I'm almost over it. If you like what you saw, do me a favor, click that subscribe button right there in the center. And if you want some more completionist goodness, we've got videos all over the place. Be sure to watch them to get that bass. Place and bass rhymed. I don't know why I went that way. That's all the time we've got for today, guys. So please, as always, let us know what you thought about today's episode somewhere on the internet. Shout outs to all of our awesome folks over at patreon.com/thatonevideogamer. All your support really helps the show every single week. Now, if you excuse me, Mark, I want you to find the worst monster movie clip you can find and just show it. Just revel in that horrible movie magic of old days of Hollywood. I'm excited.